Hi everybody. I have a little bonus video for you today. This one is called God's Zentangles. So many of you have been finding some beautiful examples of Zentangle in God's world, and so I thought I'd show you how perhaps one way anyway, that you could turn these into some Zentangle designs. So I have three different ones. This first one here is, I named it Queen Andy after our dear friend Andy. And she took some pictures of some Queen Anne's lace remnants from last summer, wintered over, and they're very beautiful. So that one I did this way, and I don't think it's too hard. I'm going to show you in a minute. And then Eliana took a really nice pine cone photograph, and there's a couple of different ways to do the pine cone from different views. So I'm going to show you those right now, kind of quickly, and you can follow along. So you'll need your pen for this one. And the way I start the Queen Anne's lace is with two parallel lines, rather close together for a thin stem. And at the end of the stem, there's kind of a little dark circle shape. And then coming off of that, we'll put a few more stems with the lines very close together, going out, kind of radiating, I guess you would say, from that center. And remember, you can shift your paper to make it easier to draw these lines. Okay, and now at the end of each one of these, we're going to do some V shapes. Getting smaller and smaller depending on how much room you have, which will depend on how large you started your drawing. So all these V shapes go down to the same point. And you can see I've added an extra one to the middle there when I had some room. Also, I don't know, you might notice I'm kind of, that one got a little carried away, but I was doing kind of a loose end to these V's just to make it look a little more natural. Now the trick on this is if you're going to do more than one, to somehow figure out a way to overlap. So I'm going to start another one here, maybe a little longer. And again, when you go out from that center, if you encounter another thicker stem, to try to go behind it, like we've done on the bridges or halabah. This is going to be a tricky one here. Just do the best we can. Maybe one more. And then off of each one of these, some V's. Trying to go quickly, but it's actually not the best thing to do when you're doing a Zentangle. Go quickly. So I'm kind of going behind this one a little bit, since I don't want it to come out looking too thick or dense. That up a little. Again, a little tricky when you're doing overlapping on this, but it's worth it. There we go. And now you have some Queen Anne's lace blowing in the wind. And I'm gonna just use the graphite that's kind of on my blender to just maybe add a bit of shading to this. And there you go. Pretty easy. Now a pine cone view from the side. So I'm going to draw just a section so I can do it larger of what might be a pine cone shape. And the way this goes is it's really kind of like fish scales. So I'll actually start in the corner. And when you do fish scales, when you start your second row, you touch the first scale that you made right in pretty much in its center before you continue. And that goes true for all the rows. So you can really see that kind of take shape here. It's like scalloping. Now, I tend to like start where I can actually see, and then if I have to go off, my pen is kind of understands where to go. So I think I can start here. And so on. And you can see how you get a nice pine cone shape. Now I'm not gonna really finish that, but there's a couple ways that you can shade it. You can shade one side of it, or you can do both of these. But you can also shade underneath each of these little, well, they're actually, they're seeds. This is where the seeds to the pine tree are housed in each one of these little things. And, oops. So this might be a way to shade it from the side there. And then also kind of underneath each one. And that looks pretty nice and dimensional, doesn't it? Yep. So that's basically the idea on the pine cone from a side view. The pine cone, from looking at it from the end on, you start with a circle. And again, you use those scallop shapes. And again, for your next row, you're going to start in the middle and go to the middle. So you can see your scallop is getting larger just by the nature of this. And that's actually what happens in a pine cone. And now starting in the middle. Going toward them. Oh, close. And so on. Now my shapes are getting kind of thinner and longer. And you continue going around. I won't finish that because I think you get the idea of it. Shading for this, again, is in these little niches here, which is where the seed would be located. Put a little of your graphite down. Nope, this one. And then go back in with your blending tool and smooth that out, and look at how that really adds dimension. What you'll find is that I think that really works for this is that the further out on this end of a pine cone look you get, the more it's in shadow. It's not as much in shadow here if you think of the light source coming down this way. It'll be more in shadow down here. So that's that basic idea. I think you'll figure this out, and since there's a video, you can watch it a couple of times if you need some reminders on how to do this. So that's God's Zentangles. Have fun.